This afternoon's top stories. Stakeholders discuss crime reduction at National Symposium. IMF calls on St. Lucia to reduce debt, and growing fear in Argentina over immigration law changes. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Thursday, February 9th, 2017. I am Shaira Flanders. Nationally, about 200 stakeholders from various sectors across St. Kitts Nevis are meeting this morning at the Marriott Resort for a national symposium on the roots of crime and violence. It's called an Uprooting Crime and Violence National Crime Reduction Symposium and has been organized by the Ministry of National Security and the Private Sector Coalition for support of security initiatives. After opening remarks by Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, the keynote presenter Dr. Neil Chaitan will engage the stakeholders in addressing 12 psychosocial roots that feed prevalent crimes. This will be followed by open discussion and group work to identify strategies to address the most significant causes of crimes. All strategies will be collected and will be used to build a St. Kitts and Nevis national comprehensive strategy for crime reduction. Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris has called on able-bodied residents to sign up to fill vacancies that exist within several national security agencies. The call was made at the third edition of the Good Governance and Accountability for Prosperity Town Hall meetings. The meeting was held on Tuesday at the Newtown Community Center.
We have over 100 jobs going, begging in the national security. Policemen, defense force, and of course, the rest of the fire services. If you have a young, able-bodied son at home, not doing no work, send him to fill out an application because you have to make a start somewhere.
Dr. Harris, who is also the Minister of National Security, said working in the security field is, quote, a good start for persons who are unemployed and wish to serve their country.
When the young man in the context of our security challenges says that I will work in defense of law and order, what better calling could there be? And that is why the government has been reaching out. That is why for the last 2 years we gave the security forces their largest budget ever in the history. That is why this year we have expended already $5 million to bring the city CCTV cameras all around Bastille and Shadwell and Keon and Charlestown, because there must be peace in the land again.
Last December, the federal parliament approved more than $71 million to fund the Ministry of National Security for the 2017 fiscal year. Just over $19.1 million was earmarked for capital projects, which include upgrades to several police stations across the Federation and also the construction of a new Coast Guard base at Bird Rock and a new prison at Estridge Estate. Also in 2015, government increased risk pay to members of the security forces, fire officers and prison officers by 20%. Officials hope that the improved facilities, increase in pay, expansion of training opportunities, and restructured promotional procedures will attract more men and women to consider a career in the security field. Minister of Labor, the Honorable Vance Amory, says a lot more needs to be done to engage citizens and residents in the workings of the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, or CSME, and the many opportunities available. In an interview with the St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service, or SKNIS, Premier Amory said that because people don't fully understand and have not been fully acquainted with the provisions of the CSME over the years, their general attitude towards the program has been met with much rejection.
This has been a very big challenge where decisions are made as heads of government at the different agencies of CARICOM, but there has been no dissemination of the specifics and the details for people within the community to have a full appreciation. There is that understanding which has been signed on to since 1989 and subsequent adjustments to the Treaty of Chaguaramas to allow for the movement of skills, movement of goods, and so on. But there's still that lack of appreciation, of understanding of the meaning and the impact of those agreements.
Referencing the CSME program to an ongoing 4-day workshop, which is aimed at establishing a comprehensive labor market information system, Minister Amory said that it is an effort to remove those gray areas and misunderstandings. He noted that such training is important as it paints a clear picture, thus providing persons to the avenue to learn more.
So that we can share the information with the expectation that our people will have a better understanding and therefore do some of the things which are required to make themselves more capable to have the jobs which are available. Foreign investment, local investment.
Referencing the CSME program to an ongoing 4-day workshop, which is aimed at establishing a comprehensive labor market information system, Minister Amory said that it is an effort to remove those gray areas and misunderstandings. He noted that such training is important as it paints a clearer picture, thus providing persons the avenue to learn more. The government of St. Kitts and Nevis, in collaboration with the National Housing Corporation, or NHC, will launch its Unity Housing Solution Program on Friday, 17th February. The launch will take place on Wellington Road, Bastille at 9:30 a.m. The launch of the Unity Housing Solution Program forms part of the Team Unity Week of activities under the theme Good Governance and Accountability for Prosperity to commemorate the 2-year anniversary of being in government. Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris and the Minister responsible for NHC, the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, will address the gathering on the government's performance to date, the new Unity Housing Solution Program, and other future plans. According to a statement from the NHC, the objective of the launch is to sensitize the public of the government's promises, which encompass improving infrastructure, sustainable living, and creating jobs. Another objective is to bring awareness of the 300 houses that will be built across various communities. Plans for distribution, the start date of construction, designs, and layouts will be addressed. NHC will be closed for the day to facilitate this historic and auspicious occasion. On to news on the regional scene, the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, is advising the government of St. Lucia to set a debt reduction target and rapidly implement its reform agenda amid rising public debt. An IMF mission team visited St. Lucia from January 16th to the 27th, 2017, and made its concluding statement public on Monday, February 6th. We hear more in this HTS St. Lucia report.
Following its 2-week Castries mission, an IMF team has concluded that the short-term outlook for St. Lucia is mildly positive but presents some risks. A few items contribute to that mildly positive prognosis. They include falling unemployment in 2016, a program of economic reforms expected to be outlined in the forthcoming budget, and a credible medium-term fiscal consolidation plan. According to the report, moderate growth is expected in 2017 based on continued strong performance in construction and agriculture. Prime Minister and Minister for Finance Alan Chasney says his administration plans to build on this foundation.
There is risk in everything that you take, and I think that the IMF report was very clear in stating that as well. We're looking to reduce taxes in order to improve competitiveness and, depending on the economy, to grow. If in fact that we do that and we don't see the growth, it creates a wider gap, and that could potentially erode the base for St. Lucia.
Now, the risks and worries. The report states that weakness in tourism, transportation, and manufacturing continues to dampen growth. It adds that the new administration is launching an ambitious program of economic reforms, but key policies are still being shaped. The mission calls for rapid implementation of the reform agenda in light of the high public debt, which currently exceeds 82% of gross domestic product. It also expressed concern about the reduction in the value-added tax rate, stating that it will weaken the fiscal position unless measures are taken to mitigate its impact. Opposition leader Philip J. Pierre says this echoes the former SLP administration's concerns about the VAT reduction.
And they're very concerned, and you may note that St. Vincent has actually increased their VAT to 16%.
What concerns did they have?
About the loss of revenue that comes from a reduction in VAT.
The IMF says St. Lucia needs the consolidation plan to reduce policy uncertainty and ensure the success of the proposed economic programs. It says this plan should also address the need to prepare for the inevitable recurrence of natural disasters. The team has recommended that funds derived from the Citizenship by Investment program should be used to reduce debt and limits placed on amounts used to finance high-priority expenditure.
In Barbados, a Canadian Deltro group is soon to begin construction of the first ever solar panel manufacturing plant. More in this Nation News Barbados report.
Construction should soon be starting on the first solar panel manufacturing plant in Barbados. This was revealed on Wednesday by Chief Financial Officer of the Canada-based Deltro Group, Dean Del Mastro. He said planning approval had been granted to build the plant at Kendall Hill, Christchurch, on the site of Transtech Inc. Mr. Del Mastro said the group will be investing US $20 million in the facility, which will employ 120 Barbadians initially.
The solar manufacturing facility is a very large export player for Barbados. It's a very significant economic engine for Barbados. We have contracts that exceed the approvals here in Barbados by about 15 times. And we would like to manufacture all those panels here in Barbados and export to those markets. And that's while we're having this conversation. We're obviously working on gaining more contracts and more potential for the plant. And we have had a number of people reaching out to us. We just had a meeting yesterday with a company that specifically wants to deal with us, wants to buy panels manufactured in the Caribbean, because I think that that's good positioning for them, and we believe it is good positioning for any companies that are seeking to gain contracts here in the Caribbean region, which is to support Caribbean workers.
Moving on to news on the international scene, recent changes to immigration law in Argentina have taken foreign communities by surprise and left them worrying about their future. The government is tightening border controls, which it says are needed for security measures. Al Jazeera's Daniel Schwemmler reports from Buenos Aires.
Argentina is a country built by immigrants, initially from Europe, but more recently from neighboring countries, Bolivia, Paraguay and Peru.
I believe that all of us from neighboring countries are worried. I hope our politicians can talk and sort this out.
Changes to Argentine immigration law mean foreigners with criminal records will not be allowed in, while those who commit crimes in Argentina can be more easily expelled. The changes were announced after a number of widely reported crimes involving foreigners.
Our main concern with the changes is that they can now expel those who have committed minor offenses, who in general are those in the most vulnerable situations.
Immigrant groups fear the government is using a crime scare to join a global anti-immigrant wave, most notable in the United States and Europe.
It was a surprise coming just after Trump's inauguration. At first we were calm, then we saw some of the prejudiced commentaries that followed, and now we're concerned.
Up to 1 million Bolivians live and work in Argentina, principally in the horticultural industry. Hard-working and law-abiding, many resent being associated with criminals. The Bolivian community has lived in Argentina for generations, integrated, known as producers and sellers of fruit and vegetables. These new changes to immigration law have left them puzzled and concerned. Argentina shares more than 9,000 kilometers of border with 5 countries, easily breached by smugglers and undocumented travelers. That has to change, says the Argentine government, by working with neighboring countries and using more sophisticated technology.
Argentina will continue to remain open to the world, but with the moral authority, having welcomed 215,000 newcomers last year, to say no to the criminals.
The director said Argentina will continue to welcome law-abiding immigrants. Their reassurance is tainted by the growing climate of fear felt among immigrant communities elsewhere in the world. Daniel Schwemmler, Al Jazeera, Buenos Aires.
Former Prime Minister Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo has been elected Somalia's new president after 2 rounds of voting by members of parliament. The votes were cast under heavy security after threats from the armed group Al-Shabaab prevented a general election. Al Jazeera's Mohamed Ado reports from Mogadishu.
The historic vote took place in a high-security compound within Mogadishu's fortified international airport. Somalia's 329 MPs and senators gathered to elect a president for their unstable state. In the first round, outgoing President Hassan Mahmoud held a slight lead over Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo in a crowded field of 21 candidates. But Farmajo held a clear lead after the second round among the two candidates remaining, forcing Mahmoud to concede defeat.
History was made. We have taken this path to democracy. And now I want to congratulate Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo.
With President Mahmoud's mandate already expired, the new president was quickly sworn in.
This victory belongs to the Somali people. This is the beginning of the era of unity, the democracy of Somalia, and the beginning of the fight against corruption.
Thousands of cheering Somalis quickly took to the streets of the capital in jubilation, chanting the new president's name. Cheering soldiers fired into the air. Critics say the election, the most extensive democratic exercise for decades, has encouraged corruption, partly fueled by Middle Eastern and regional powers seeking to secure victory for candidates seen as favorable to their interests. Members of parliament, however, say the election results and change in leadership vindicates the process.
The future of Somalia is very bright, and inshallah I'm hoping that, as I believe, it's how people will see it as well, and they see the change as much as I see it, and it's going to come, and so we'll be making Somalia great again.
Somalia's new president is facing huge challenges, key among them rebuilding the collapsed state institutions and a national army that has the capacity to fight Al-Shabaab fighters. He also has to deal with the massive poverty in the country. Farmajo holds dual Somali-US citizenship. He holds degrees from the State University of New York in Buffalo and was Prime Minister for 8 months before leaving the post in 2011. Mohamed Ado, Al Jazeera, Mogadishu, Somalia.
And now for the weather. Present weather is cloudy with scattered showers. Winds are moderate at 30 miles per hour from the east. Seas are moderate to locally rough with heights up to 8 feet. The weather forecast predicts that today will be sunny to partly cloudy with a chance of light and brief passing showers. Tonight will be fair to partly cloudy with another chance of light and brief passing showers. Sunset today will be at 6:11 p.m. and the sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:39 a.m. That brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Shaira Flanders. Have a good one.